Mucho Eta Ola Expressions. My name is Drew and I'll be your street journal for the day. Join me as we tackle the mind-boggling topic of land. As we celebrate the 24th year of our democracy, let's see and hear what the young people of South Africa have to say. I say expropriation of land without compensation. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Land was taken from our forefathers a long time ago, and now this is the time to get that land, because it has been long overdue, and I think the youth is being woken about this thing, and it's a good thing for South Africa moving forward.
We want it, but we do not need it. Because now this land that we are looking at, it's being utilized and it's helping our economy to grow. So capitalizing or expropriating this land, it's going to affect our economy as a country.
As black people, like, the land originally was ours. So when the Afrikaners came, they took our land. And when they took our land, like, black people, they own like less percentage of the land. If you can check, white people own majority of the land in South Africa.
There are rich minority in Sandton, and there are a majority of black people who are in Alexandra, just over a street, who are in need of the land.
We should share it. Yeah. Rainbow Nation, we should all benefit from our resources and equally.
We black people don't deserve the land. We don't deserve it at all. Black people have this mentality where they're gonna build like the club and then places, not thinking of doing the agriculture on the land.
The land belongs to the Africans, and the Africans, we can't run away from it, they are blacks. So as a result, they deserve to have the land.
Clearly a very divisive issue, but on that note, we want to say hello, Dumelang, Sanbonani, South Africa. Welcome to Expressions, your #1 current affairs show here on SABC 1. And if you don't know this by now, Expressions is definitely the place for you to air your views. I'm your host, Jacqueline Mapala.
I'm your host, Now tonight, we are discussing the burning issue of land in South Africa, Jackie. Now, as we celebrate Freedom Day, are South Africans truly free?
I mean, that's a very important question. I mean, in a few days, we will be celebrating Freedom Day in South Africa. And the 27th of April commemorates the day in 1994 when the first democratic elections were held in South Africa. It marks the liberation of our country and its people from a long period of colonialism, white minority domination, which is apartheid.
But Jackie, as we celebrate this very important day, many young people maintain that there is no real freedom without land. Well, see Expressions, we caught up with a young entrepreneur who knows just how important the issue of land is. Do take a look at this.
The land audit in South Africa shows that 72% of the land is owned by white minorities. We must change that. 15% by the colored community, 5% by Indian community, and only 4% by Africans, who are the majority of South Africans. We must change that.
Does land matter to young South Africans as we celebrate 24 years of democracy? That's why see Expressions namhlanje sifike to speak to umuntu omusha who's using this whole land debate as a business opportunity as well. Ngesimuzwe na ukuthi imaphi ama challenges awafaceayo in this whole land reform debate. So do follow me. Challenges in finding land to house your business.
One of the first challenges that we had was finding a location which was basically in the heart of Soweto, but yet in the heart of where we're from. We are from Orlando East, and one of the most significant iconic structures is Orlando Towers, and that's where we wanted to be. So we went about finding out information with regards to who do we get the rental from, who do we get the land from, and then went to the municipality, said that no, that there's a gentleman that has acquired the lease for the property for about 99 years, and we asked for if we could use a particular section.
Did you say 100-year lease?
100-year lease, yes, or better yet, how they like to say it's 99-year lease.
Yo, how does that even work?
One, you have the rights to the land, meaning that no one else has got the rights to the land for the next 99 years. One of the major challenges when you're trying to start something, your own new vision, your own new type of an experience. Because now you see land and say that, can I acquire this land? If I want to farm, if I wanted to have an experience, the biggest question always comes down to is it available? Do I really need land? Yes, I do. I think we all do. We all need a sense of belonging. And having that one thing that says that is mine, I think that will make confidence, ambition, and direction become a whole new platform.
Do young people need land? That's the burning question that we're going to be answering tonight. But to help me unpack this conversation and this very important topic that we're having in studio, I am joined by Professor Cyril Mbata, who is from UNISA Graduate School of Business Leadership. And I'm also joined by Renier Grossen, who is the chairperson of AfriForum Youth Tuks. Gentlemen, welcome to Expressions.
Thank you.
And of course, Mobohedi, they say the best things come in twos. And if you're wondering what's happened to Makosi Mkolisi, he's going to be manning our social media corner and bringing some of your perspectives on this issue. And of course, we had given the EFF an opportunity to respond, or at least to be part of this conversation. And unfortunately, they could not make it. So we will have to make do with the guests that we have in studio today. But I think we'll do this topic some justice. I think, let me start with you, Professor. I mean, can there really be freedom without land?
Yeah, so I would like to say that the issue around land is because land is visible. The inequalities that we see in South Africa after 25 years since we got into a democratic era, it does not just affect land as a resource, an economic resource. It's also in other sectors, in mining. It's the same issue. So, yeah. Like we think about all the other economic sectors in terms of getting rid of inequalities, unequal distribution of resources, we should think the same way about land.
Renier, and I want to bring you into this conversation. We heard there a young person saying, we do need land. We do need land. I mean, as the AfriForum, you guys are planning to go ahead abroad to warn investors against land expropriation. Is it fair to say that you're protecting white minorities, at least their interests?
Of course, we do protect the human rights of minority groups in South Africa. To go abroad and warn investors about the imminent threat of land expropriation without compensation, we simply do them a favor for not wasting the money.
Mm-hmm. What about the issue of justice, the issue of understanding the fact that land was taken away from black people in this country? How do you speak to balancing those kinds of issues?
Absolutely not. There was never a single piece of land stolen by white people in this country. All land has been bought up until the Boer republics. After the Boer republics has been disbanded by the British, the game simply changed and the British made South Africa as we know it today. And that's what we don't know as young people in South Africa. You won't hear this anyway.
Okay, Cyril, I want to bring you into this. I mean, you've done a lot of research around the expropriation, at least land reform. I mean, speak to exactly what he's just said now, to say that actually no land was ever stolen.
Well, historically, that's not accurate. I mean, after 1913, there was a very definite political system that kept black people in homelands as reserves for labor in what was then called the old South Africa. But I think the issue that we probably don't agree on, I think all of us agree that we need redistribution of resources in South Africa. I think the AfriForum is opposed to the manner in which land is being acquired for that redistribution. And like I said earlier on, land, like all the other resources, need to be acquired in the same way because they're all inputs to production. So I also, like them, I don't agree, I don't think that it's a prudent thing to do to acquire land without compensation, because that distorts markets. The same way that we would not want to acquire mines, acquire other resources, industries, without compensating the people who own those industries. It's the same approach that we should take if we're following a market-oriented approach, as the ANC says that's what they want to do. However, currently, with the revision of the Constitution, Section 25, there's a lot of confusion there in terms of what approach is being taken. And I think the confusion and whether or not the judicial review is, at the end of the day, going to accept the text that comes out of the commission at the end of August that's been set up by Parliament. We don't know what the outcome of that is. In the meantime, there's this confusion, lack of confidence in the market, and then you've got the AfriForum who are mobilizing international business to
Which is interesting, because then when we're talking about a South Africa that is unified, at least our values should be unified around certain issues. So how do you answer the question of 72% of all farmlands are owned by the minority in this country? What is your solution to the issue around the disproportional ways in which land is owned in South Africa?
See, first we need to look at, do the people actually want this? Did any of you watch the State of the Nation address by Zuma last year? I think it was March. He mentioned that only 7% of the land claims the people actually wanted the land, even though they had the right to, by the law, they could choose the land rather than the money. They simply chose the money. 93% of them chose the money instead. And we see unprecedented levels of urbanization, telling the people want to be in the city, they want to be in the clubs, no one wants to work anymore.
I'm hoping, there's a response to this. He's saying that people don't want land, they actually prefer money. Is that really true?
Well, in the research I've done for the last 15 years, especially young people do not want to be on agricultural land. The demand we have in South Africa is for urban land. In urban areas, and that's where I think the contestations are. However, land reform programs have concentrated much more on land redistribution and land restitution projects on agricultural land, where we find older women especially, whom under traditional leadership are not even empowered to use the land for economic empowerment.
So there are clear issues. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut you here. The clear issues, we'll continue this conversation a little bit later. Mubahedi, maybe you're watching the show right now. You're a young person. Do you want land? Maybe that's a question that you can respond to with Mxolisi, who's going to be taking some of your phone calls. You're watching Expressions. Stay with us.
I guess Pinde Sinbingele Namgele, you still watching your #1 Youth Current Affairs show. This is Expressions. Now, we're discussing the issue of land. Siyabuzage, as South Africa celebrates Freedom Day, are South Africans truly free? Now, on the line, we're joined by the EFF's General Secretary all the way from Limpopo, Rendani. Good evening and welcome to Expressions. Now, as you've heard, as AfriForum has already stated earlier this evening, I just want to hear from you. How do you respond?
Hello?
Hi, Rendani, can you hear me?
Yes, I think I can hear you now.
Yes, Rendani, the big question this evening is, are South Africans truly free? Do young South Africans really need land?
Yeah, no, that's correct. As South Africans, we need land, and we are unapologetic on that question, The EFF in command and the EFF at large, we told ourselves that we are going to fight for land. It's one of the cardinal pillars of the EFF. But we adopted that it's an apologetic pillar. It's a pillar that you can't oppose it. It's something that we rally behind so that our people can gain the dignity through the land. So we need land as like South Africans.
Okay, Puti, so when we look at that and look at some of the comments that we've also had with social media here to Namhlanje, and of course, some people even not taking kindly, Jackie, to Reina with AfriForum, you know, going as far as going to the international economy. Some of them even saying that they feel like this is direct sabotage of the South African economy. Perhaps, Rendani, how would you respond to this before we go to Reina?
You know, white people's mentality, I don't think they think properly. I'm sorry to say that. But if you bring a question to say, let's speak about land, we're not saying let's hijack the land and take everything to ourselves. We're saying let's engage on how can we distribute the land. And then they then turn everything to be something like we're attacking them. And on this picture here, we're not attacking anyone. We're saying, let's speak, how can we take this land back to its owners and share amongst it? Because all of us now we're in South Africa, then let's speak about it. But what they're doing now, they're now posing issues of economy and so forth and so forth. And even the current status of economy, it doesn't favor black people. Why should we worry about something that doesn't benefit us? We're saying let's speak for something that will benefit both me and you as a white person. Because now, which means we're going to share amongst the land, and then we need to benefit all of us.
Reina, seemingly you grasping at straws. That's according to the EFF. What's your take?
I would say the concept of Ubuntu is great and all, but does it work? There's no communist system that has ever worked in the world, which is basically a derivation of Ubuntu. You do everything for the society and everyone is equal.
Rendani, do you want to add something to that?
You know, we can't speak of the weather. You know, our economy has been directed by so-called white monopoly capital and so forth. And that when you speak of the world, they think about themselves, they think about London, they think about Queen, that's the world. We're speaking of South Africa here, where we need to do things as an Africans. When we speak of socialism, we need to speak about it here and implement it here. Other countries must then copy from us how we're going to do it. So we're saying let's start the language, let's start the talk now and redistribute this land and see how the market will react on an African way. That's why when you come across the word decolonizations and transformations are two things different. If we are saying now let's decolonize, we mean let's decolonize and form new things so that we can be able to move together. Because now in the current status, white people have got a privilege. When you start to think about the world, they've already have a privilege, something that we can't contest with. They are somewhere we are very far below. So we need something to adjust the economy. And the only way to adjust the economy between black and white is when you compensate, you take the land and give it to the rightful owners of this country.
All right, Rendani, at the back of that, I just need to quickly check in with our WhatsApp voice note for this evening. This is what you have to say.
I'm not sure if land matters to young people that much, unless if they're caught up in the hype of what the older generation is saying, because as young people, we did not experience the injustices of land grabs. We live in the land and in the spaces that are available to us right now. So we're not quite considerate of the importance of land and homesteads.
All right, thank you very much for that. Remember to keep those WhatsApp voice notes coming. At the back of that, we check up with your social media this evening. Oh, John Oti, how can you say you're an African when you don't own the land you walk on? Owning African land includes everything on, below and above, the minerals and animals and air. No white came with gold, but they have it. They never came with lions that they own game reserves. They live in suburbs, but they never came with a tree or river. Malanza says, Well, I'm going to have to skip that because we do not condone hate speech on expressions. Now, Toto says that lady, Tamsanga rather, is relieved from oppression and says, yes, we're not free. Some white people feel now they are oppressed while the black people feel free. I don't think we as South Africans are free or will ever attain the notion of freedom. Sfiso Dlamini says, if the land was bought from whom it was bought, it is buying and taking the same thing? Asking that big question, Jackie, and perhaps the professor can address, because there's an article that came up, you know, where he said that it's difficult when you have a government that was part of the whole stealing of the land. Now, Muzwake says, we want our land back, and that's if we do not want money, we want land, and let us decide on what to do with it. Very interesting views there, and once again, we have to say all these comments are not the views of Expressions or its producers. Expressions continues after this. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're watching Expressions, and today we're talking about the also important conversation around land. And of course, we're asking whether there is a need or a desire from young people for land. And I think we have to wrap it up, and unfortunately, we've got very little time to do that. So I'm just going to give you an opportunity just to have some closing comments. And let me start with you, Prof. I mean, what would you like to say to young people around the issue of land and freedom, most importantly?
So in terms of freedom, we need economic freedom, that's for sure. Land should just not come vacant without the capital that needs to be there. It needs to be active. In terms of desire, like all the other sectors that some of us grew up in the townships not knowing about the potential of what freedoms they could bring to us, we need to make land more sexy, agricultural businesses sexy to young people, as vibrant as they are in East Africa. In most East African economies, young people, educated people embrace land as a business, and we need to learn a lot from what they've done. And I think that could be a good connection between freedom and young people and land.
And for you, Renia, is there a willingness from AfriForum to see land distributed to Africans in this country?
Of course, if they would legally do so. And that is not by amending the Constitution in an unlawful land grab.
Okay, short and sweet, right? Should you come over this side? I mean, this is definitely a very tumultuous issue that we're discussing in studio. And unfortunately, obviously, we can't discuss every single issue, but I think you guys have given us a lot of insight. So a big thank you for all the insight that you've given us. I think we're going to look at the poll, Hemko.
Absolutely. Well, we did ask, are we really free? And this is what you have to say, Mundomo Shade. Let's have a look at the poll results, where a whopping 95% thinks no, and 5% thinks yes. Well, interesting takes there from young people.
Interesting takes. So clearly, well, young people do want land to come back, right?
Yeah,
and they feel that it's connected to their freedom, right?
Yep, indeed, Jackie. And of course, once again, a very big thank you to our guests for today. Does it mean that's the end of the show now?
Oh,
yeah, we had such an awesome time. But till next week, we wish you a spectacular evening going forward. Take care. Good night.
Thank you for watching. Bye.